Good afternoon, everyone. You know what time it is. It is Arise and Shine Stories of Triumph. And here we are, another week with another amazing guest. It's so funny, before the pre show, we were all talking, and Tanya and I can contest that she brings color, like that vibrant red fire in her hair. She brings color to our life and so many individuals' lives. And so we are honored to have Sabrina Allison on today. We see people are coming in. Good morning, Brenda, our faithful viewer. We so appreciate you, and everyone else that will join today and even with the replay. Right, Tanya?
Yes, we always have a whole lot of activity on replay. Hey, Paula, girl, that clubhouse room this morning was off the chain, sweetie. Thank you. If you haven't been to the Confident Comeback Clubhouse, you better find us. You better
Yes.
find us. But yes, our replay is amazing. We have some loyal folks. And you know what? We're coming up on 100 episodes, y'all. So
Unbelievable.
we are so excited about that. So we ask you to please share. There's going to be some exciting things happening in the coming weeks. I think our special guest today even said she's going to be helping contribute to the celebration. So we
Awesome.
are excited about 100 episodes. They're God's episodes. And just a blessing. I know you didn't want me to say all that, Benicia, but I got excited.
No, absolutely. I think it's something that needs to be talked about. This week, a matter of fact, I found one of our old episodes. Hey, Mom, Kelda Rankin, how are you? But this week I found an old episode, and it's so good, right? Sometimes you got to go back just to see how far you've come. And so I sent it to Tanya, and we just fell out laughing. God has brought us a mighty long way. So that's something to celebrate.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that even with Sabrina on today, and everyone who joins us. At times you do have to go back when you're going through, when the road looks rough, and remind yourself who your God is and what he's capable of doing.
Yes,
right?
what
Hey,
he's brought
Sandy
you through.
Sanders,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining this morning. We appreciate it. So we are going to tell you a little bit about this. I'm gonna call her a firecracker because I just keep seeing that hair popping this morning. So I'm gonna tell you just a little bit about Sabrina. Hey, Judy, good morning. Thank you for joining. So Sabrina Allison is a nurse that started her career in Baltimore City. She really is a fierce. You see that word, that fierce, that redness, that hot, it just keep coming up. She's a fierce patient advocate. But after 22 years, Sabrina actually changed roles. Instead of being the nurse, she became the patient after she suffered a chronic illness. And so, one of her models in life is to intentionally live life, not a label. I just love that when I read that, so no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been labeled with, you have to make a decision to intentionally live life on purpose. She's been writing since she was 9 years old. She is amazing at poetry, such heartfelt written words that you can feel from the Father above in regards to any topic. I've heard her. I have enjoyed her.
Yes.
She is a comedian. Listen, y'all, I don't know why she hasn't embraced this about her. But when I say a comedian, which I find so amazing that she has found laughter through the ups and downs of life. And she is also a radio personality. I think that's why, once again, she is so funny, and she can brighten up your day. And so I hope that you are as blessed as we have been to have her in our life on today as she journeys on Arise and Shine and share her story.
Yes.
Sabrina? Oh, Tanya, I'm sorry.
I just want to add to that, Sabrina.
Yeah.
I want to say, I met you in the comment feed on the Unmasked Summit. That's how I met you. It was before that, but I met you and who you are, because she was spewing poetry
My
from
God.
all the stuff that was being poured into her during that time. And I was so taken with your freedom to give, your authenticity,
Yes.
just so real. To most people would sit back when the doctor says you have an incurable brain disorder. Most people would run and hide. Most people would shut down. Most people would give up. Most people would go into depression and stay there. Right? Most people would not want to share their ailment for fear of judgment. Most people would have a shame factor that goes along. You may have stopped at some of those places, but were determined to not stay there. I have absolute respect for you and what you bring to the kingdom. I'm so excited to have you here with us today. I just had to chime in because
of course,
Isha and I, we consider this a gift that we get to do this, you know, and she's a blessing that to be doing this with her is a blessing to me.
Likewise.
But then to add and get these guests that are just crazy good, crazy phenomenal people that you would never know the story that we have. Sabrina, please speak, because words and you are married.
Ooh, I like that.
Wow. What an introduction, and thank you guys so much for having me on, especially in the times that we are living in now. We need all of the positive reinforcement that we can get. I am so grateful and find it not robbery or take it for granted any opportunity that I get to share my story, and especially with you two ladies that have just come into my life and have been so amazing. And I just thank you and I appreciate you guys for having me on the show today. You said something pivotal, that I may have stopped at a lot of places, but I didn't stay there. So what people need to understand is that everyone's journey is different, but the way my tribe is set up is different than everybody else's. So let me just say this. With having women like you and Benicia in my life, I didn't have time to stop and stay there.
Wow.
Because where I was going in the journey, other people saw where I was going and knew what I had to offer before I did outside of nursing. I just didn't see it for myself. And knowing that I was going somewhere different, the women that I had in my tribe was not willing to allow me to fail.
Oh, that's good.
Or stay stagnant. So when this all started with the journey, my oldest son wrote a tribute to me one day. And he said, what would have killed some took you to your knees in prayer.
My God.
And God only gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And of course, I didn't feel that way. And the name of the disorder, Benicia didn't want to mess it up. I tried to teach her. That wasn't her ministry.
Yeah, that's not my lane. It's okay, though.
The name of the disorder that I have is called Chiari Malformation. And it's an incurable brain disease, but it's treatable. And most people that have the disorder are born with it. Well, I wasn't diagnosed with it until I was 44.
Wow.
And although I had symptoms all my life, I was one of those people with Chiari Malformation that if you treated my symptom, then it went away. That doesn't mean that the disease was gone. It was just being treated in a manner that it could be managed. Well, I had a headache one day that would not go away. And the one thing I would like to tell people is understand and know when your body is talking to you, listen to what your body is saying to you.
That's right.
Because just like our parents used to say, you're not crying for anything. Well, your body's not hurting for nothing.
Wow, that's good.
So learn your body's language and what your body is saying to you, because your pain is totally different than someone else's.
Yeah.
And because
Yes.
I suffered with migraines all my life, I taught myself how to, unfortunately, operate in pain.
Mm.
But
Mm.
this particular time, I could not
Wow.
do
Yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible because you were masking, I guess, the symptoms by
Mm.
coping with the pain, by dismissing it, right? By being
Mm.
an overcomer, you were dismissing the actual cause of what was going on. And it wasn't you such an overcomer, you just moved through it anyway
Mm-hmm.
Well,
until you were 44.
Mm.
unfortunately, with Chiari malformation, the symptoms can be subtle,
Mm.
but they can be very painful. So a lot of women in my family suffer with migraine headaches. So
Mm.
I can remember wearing glasses since I was age 7. And
Wow.
one
Mm-hmm.
of the symptoms of Chiari malformation across the board, that is not a red flag, but it is a major symptom,
Mm-hmm.
is blurred vision.
Mm. I was just going to ask, what are some of those symptoms? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so some of the classic signs of Chiari malformation
Mm-hmm.
are blurred vision, which
Mm-hmm.
I had. I started
Mm-hmm.
wearing glasses when I was 7.
Okay.
Migraine headaches. And where your headaches are in the back of your head, and they
Mm-hmm.
radiate down your neck.
Mm.
And the reason that they radiate down your neck is because what happens with Chiari malformation is your brain actually tonsilate out of the base of your skull. Uh,
Mm.
what's his name? Will Smith
Mm-hmm.
actually made a movie with some football players, and it was called CTE. It was called
Yes, I
Concussion,
remember that.
right?
Oh,
So
wow.
remember,
Yes, yes.
right? So remember, it was a ton of football players at one time that were
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
having issues, and some of them even to the point of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs is injury induced. We're
Mm.
born with it,
Got it.
I see.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I wake up like this every day.
Mm-hmm.
I wake
Mm.
up like this. And that's the difference. Theirs is injury induced. Mine is what we call congenital. I was born with it. So
Mm.
any of the classic signs I had, they were treatable, and it was not bad enough where it would cause a doctor to or a specialist to be called in.
Mm.
Because what kid at 7 years old, sometimes that's when vision changes. You know, kids
Right.
are
Yes.
in school, they're starting to read, they sit up on the
Yes.
Yeah.
test. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
put a pair of glasses on me
You
and
can
it
see,
corrects it.
right.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
I started having the migraine headaches really, really bad was
Mm.
somewhere between age 10 and 12. Well, a lot of women in my family have migraine headaches. But during that time, my mother could relate it to something else, which was hormone changes in puberty.
Mm.
Mm.
So it was never a reason to look for
Yeah.
anything else
Further.
because,
Yeah.
right, look any further for anything else because any classic signs that I had,
Mm-hmm.
once treated,
Mm-hmm.
they went away. But looking
Wow.
back on some of the things that I did,
Yeah.
they were very dangerous, but I just did not know. The one major thing that I'm grateful for is childbirth.
Mm.
Women with Chiari
Mm.
malformation should not bear down and have children. Both of my
Wow.
children should have been born by C-section, but because I didn't know that I had the disorder,
My God.
Look at God.
right?
Look at God. Wow.
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. The
Mm.
joint pain, I always suffered with joint pain, but of course, you think that they're just growing pains at any
Right.
given time. Um,
Exactly.
I ran a lot because I'm from Baltimore. My mother was a runner. She used to run the circumference of Pimlico Racetrack.
Mm.
Mm.
Right. So, and she was good at it. And one day
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I said, I want to run just like you. And I thought that she was going to run with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she did. She did somewhat of a run walk.
Mm.
And I remember it like it was yesterday. And she had this part of her run where she would just take off and sprint.
Mm.
So after she did her run walk with me, we got to the part where she was getting ready to sprint, but she didn't tell me. And she took off.
Oh.
And what happened was I had to take off behind her. And what she told me at the end of that, and I was honestly about 5 or 6 years old. When I got to the end, she told me, never be afraid of anything. Do it. She said, if there's a bear in the woods and you go in there, they better call for help for that bear. Fear nothing. She said, you better come out.
Oh gosh.
So that lesson of her taking off and leaving you and sprinting away was she was trying to teach you, no matter what, just because she took off, you don't stand there in shock. Start running. Move.
Do something.
Come on.
Right.
The option is to do something. There's never an option not to do anything.
That's so good.
You have to do something. Don't stand there.
That's so good.
She said, just because you're afraid, don't not do it. Do it anyway.
Right. I just think about the power of words, right? We talk about it all the time, be it good or bad. And I just think of how amazing those words were to sow that seed in you. God is so amazing how he used your mom at 5 years old to sow that seed that we now see the fruit of. Because when you found yourself going through the hardest time of your life, you could still keep going through with the fear, with the uncertainty. So Sabrina, take us to the point where you've been dealing with this all your life, but at 44, what happened that they were able to diagnose you at that period in time?
I got sick at work and had to be rushed to the hospital. And again, your tribe is so important. And I tell people, you see me alone, but I don't walk by myself.
That's good.
You know, you see me by myself, but I'm not alone. And your support, you're only as good as your support cast.
That's so good.
I did not have time to sit down and woe it's me. After a year of suffering, with going back and forwards with insurance, because the medication changed, they put me on the medication that I was on. It can cause seizures, right? And as one of the side effects. And my mother's next to oldest brother is a chemist. So of course, when I got sick, he had 10,000 questions. We call him the F. Lee Bailey in the family. Right. So when F. Lee Bailey started asking me all of these questions, like what was the prescription number and when was it prescribed, I said, okay, here we go. My doctor put me on a I'm sorry, guys. Can you see me?
No, ma'am.
No.
But we can hear you. Your camera's gone.
Oh, wow.
Keep talking while you fix it. I want to hear what he put you on.
Okay, so when he asked me what was the prescription number and everything like that, I gave him all the information that he needed because he wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So as he was researching that, my doctor told me that what ended up happening was I ended up digesting too much of the medication at one time that I was on. So taking that medication, it still didn't work. Tanya, I am trying hard to figure out how to get this camera to come back on.
Well, Sabrina, if you're comfortable with it, you can go out and come back in. We'll be right here waiting for you. Believe me, Benicia and I are not going to let you get away that easy.
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you come right back. We'll be right here waiting for you.
So, Tanya, Paula said something that I definitely can speak to. She said a lot of the symptoms that Sabrina was having was very similar to Lyme disease, which, you know, my daughter was diagnosed with about 4.5 years ago. And so, to Sabrina's point earlier, you know, we do have to listen to our bodies. We do have to advocate for ourselves, because my daughter was having all of these symptoms that generally, you know, could be something very simple, you know, a fever or a headache, joint pain, you know, things of that nature. So it took us quite a while, you know, even with thinking about Sabrina from 40 all the way up until 44, you know what I mean? And it took some time for them to realize what was happening with my daughter, only by the grace of God, because when you deal with some chronic illnesses, the symptoms mimic so many things. They thought she had rheumatoid arthritis, you know what I mean? And so many other things. So thank God that we serve a God that can give doctors wisdom, and really led us to the right person. And I know you've had some, you know, similar medical conditions as well.
Yeah. They actually checked me for Lyme disease at one point, because the symptoms that I was having, they were checking all kinds of things. And, you know, I stand with Sabrina in the area of, you know, having a brain ailment, because that seems to be, you know, the area of attack. But that just means we got a whole bunch of stuff up in there, Sabrina, that, you know, people are anxious to hear about and see, right?
That's right.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Then Lyme disease is very scary. And Paula, we would love to have you on the show at one point to have a conversation about what you've come back from when it pertains to that. I think that would be great. But let's get back to you, Sabrina. Thank you for coming back in the room.
Oh yes, absolutely. So again, during that time, my mother's brother asked questions, and my doctor ended up telling me I digested too much of the medication that I was on. So she switched my medication. And fortunately, it did work. However, at the beginning of the year when I was supposed to go back to work, insurance changed. So it was taken off of the formulary, right? And at that time, I had started getting better. But now, mind you, when you have, what I didn't tell was I had a seizure at work. Now,
I was going to ask you. I was going to
a group of nurses, so I didn't remember anything. Listen, I got to work that morning. I didn't even want to drive. I'm gonna tell you how I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to say anything. So when I woke up that morning, it was Veterans Day, right? I had just come from Baltimore from the Ravens Pittsburgh game the week before. So it was Veterans Day. I could only see half of my bedroom. I could only see half of my bedroom. So again, it was Veterans Day. I didn't want to drive. So, you know, not calmly, but, you know, I put that on a honeydew list. I said, you know, I turned over and looked and said, can I get a ride to work today? Now, of course, normally I drive myself to work and I drive myself home. But that particular day, I put that on the honeydew list.
Sabrina, how often do we put ourselves on the honeydew list? It's crazy, right? We do it. I mean, Benicia just got on me this morning because I talked about my eye exam. She's like, I'm gonna have to stay on you. You know, just being transparent and sharing with everybody. You know, I'm gonna have to stay on you.
About is the honeydew list that I'm talking about is when you turn over and you look and you say, honey, can you take me to work? I didn't want to say I couldn't see.
But in essence, you put the fact that you couldn't see on the honeydew list. You put it away.
I wouldn't tell. I wouldn't say I can't see.
Yes,
That my
my
hair
dad
was
did
hurting
that.
that badly.
Yes.
And everyone that knows me knows at that time, Thursdays was my hair appointment day. So,
Sounds familiar.
right. So every day at 4:30, I was already out the door. But on Thursdays, I was out the door when I worked in the office at 4:29 because I was not going to go without getting
Getting
my
your
hair
hair
done.
done. But Sabrina, let me just stop you for 1 second though, because I just need to get an understanding. So you're a nurse,
Right.
that have taken care of patients for double-digit years.
Right.
So you knew something was wrong. What would cause you to override that?
I didn't know exactly what was wrong. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I had a migraine that was different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I knew that it was other people that counted on me. So I used that as an excuse. I
Mm,
used my family as an excuse
mm,
to not take care of me.
That's good.
mm.
That's
And not
real.
realizing that when I don't take care of me, I can't take care of
Take
them.
care of your family. That's right. That's
Yeah.
so good. Say that one more time, because I
When I
just think
don't take care of me, I
yes.
can't take care of them.
Mm,
So
mm,
let me fast
Mm.
forward a little bit. Like I said, I put that on the honeydew list and got a ride to work. And within minutes of me getting to work, now mind you, I told you my hair day is on Thursdays. Everybody
mm,
knows. I and I was late for work. I had never been late for work before.
mm.
So one of the young ladies in the office said, "Has anybody heard from Sabrina? Because she's never late for work." So when I get to work, I walk past a friend of mine and not even speak. That's another pet peeve of mine. When you walk into a room of people, you speak.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So me being Sabrina, I kept my sunshades on and went and sat at my desk. I don't remember what made me ask the young lady to come to me, but within minutes, I had a seizure. Nobody knows how long I was down. Some people say 5 minutes, some people say 7 minutes or longer. So fast forward, I get to the hospital, right? They still don't understand it. Go to the neurologist. She still doesn't quite understand it, but she starts treating me. We get that information about the medication in January that insurance has changed. So for a whole year, I'm going having peaks and valleys because my insurance changed and I couldn't get the medication that worked. I had to use something else.
Mm,
And for the sake of time, I'll just fast forward a little bit. So by the end of that year, going back and forwards, having different issues, when I went for my yearly exam at the neurologist, she said, "Well, why don't we do a sleep study?" I said, "Let's not," and say we did. No,
Uh-uh.
that's not what we're doing. Something's wrong. And I can't tell you what it is, but I do know something is wrong. I
mm-hmm.
said, "You did a CAT scan last year. Let's do an MRI this year."
Mm.
She
So
said,
they
"But
had
I don't."
never did an MRI?
They didn't do an MRI at first. They did a CAT scan because they thought I had stroked.
Mm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
So in between, so at that time, I said, "Well, okay, let's do an MRI."
So you had to advocate for yourself and tell the
Absolutely.
doctor what you needed. My
Right.
God.
And that's maddening. That's maddening in its demographics, but that's
Mm,
another show
mm,
because people would find everything and run every test possible to find out what the situation is. But maybe I'm living in a fairy tale. But
mm,
I'm sorry, Sabrina, you just hit a nerve. So go
mm,
ahead, honey.
So when I told her that I wanted to do an MRI, I said, because something is wrong. And she said, "Well, I don't think the insurance company will listen. Something's wrong."
right. My
So she
life.
did the MRI, and I'll never forget it. Um, During the time that the results were supposed to come back, we had snow, so they were delayed. Her secretary called me when the snow had cleared and said that the doctor wanted to speak to me about my Chiari. And I said, "My what?" She said, "Well, the doctor
Jesus.
wants to talk to you about your Chiari." And I said, "I have two sons. I have a Darian and I have a Gary." I don't have a Chiari. I had no clue what she was talking about.
Right.
That sounded like a little girl.
I've been there. I've been there.
I have
see what we
everything
mean,
I
folks.
carry.
Do you see what we mean about her? For real.
And that was my reaction. I said,
Right, you were serious. Like, no, you got the wrong. I'm sorry, you called the wrong home.
You have the wrong results.
Yeah,
I'm not the person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I went back to the office for a checkup. And what I then knew as a patient was, in order for me to do anything, I'm going to have to be an expert on me and teach myself as well as my tribe.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
She'll be back, y'all.
Well,
do not disturb.
Listen, she was talking about that tribe. And we talk about, hi, Amber, good to see you. But we talk about that tribe all the time, Tanya. How important it is that you have to have people who are in your corner. And you know what I love, Tanya, is people who aren't always going to give you the fluff and tell you what you want to hear. Like you and I, love isn't always kissy, kissy, huggy, hug. We're talking about tribes, right?
That's
tribes
right.
have to tell you the truth as
Right.
a friend. So go on, please tell us about how you had to teach your tribe.
So I, it was it was a time of learning for everybody. It was a time of learning for everybody, but I knew that I had to learn as much about this disorder so that I can teach them as well as so that they can educate others, because it's something that's not heard of a lot, but it is prevalent. Now, 1 in 1,000 have it, so they say. But how many people are really being diagnosed with it? How many people are really getting MRIs and they are saying, okay, this is what you have?
Right.
Case in point, I have a friend who was talking about a medical condition that he had. And some of the symptoms that he was saying that he had, I said, when was the last time you had an MRI? He said, maybe a couple of months ago. I said, okay. I said, and what were the results? And he said, nothing. He was like, they didn't tell me anything. I said, get a copy of your MRI. And he said, why? I said, get a copy of your MRI. Mind you, right there in the results, it said Chiari Malformation 1. Now, while you are treating all of these other things that's going on with this person, your brain is your center. If you do not address this, you're still going to have problems here. But the bad part about it was he was never told that he had Chiari Malformation.
Girl,
my God.
It's crazy. Benicia, we just talked the other day about something that wasn't shared with me on my medical results, which is the reason why I ended up in urgent care 2 days ago.
Always get a copy of your medical record. Always make sure that what your doctor is telling you
or not telling you
is documented. Always. When I was working out in the field as a nurse, one of the things I used to tell patients all the time, just because the doctor prescribes it, that doesn't mean you just take it. When I ask you, why are you taking this medicine? Don't say, well, I don't know. Because you have to know. And that goes to the fact that most people don't want to say they don't understand. Well, one of my favorite things to do as a nurse is patient teaching, not for the fact of being smart or having a lot of information. I want people to understand. I want their lives to be different.
That's right.
That is one of the things I love to do as a nurse. If we have to sit down and draw stick figures on a piece of paper, what I want to do is make sure that you understand.
That's right.
When I leave you, how to take care of yourself. And people so many times feel like, well, I can't question the doctor. I can't question the nurse. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you
Absolutely. And guess what? You can get another opinion.
Yes.
You can for better lack of words, fire your doctor.
Yes.
You can.
Just
I've
did
had
that.
some doctors with bad bedside manner.
Just did that. Yes,
Doctors that I felt like weren't thorough.
Yeah.
To your point, Sabrina, I think that is such an amazing point about medications. I was recently given a medication and it said dizziness and all the. I said, well, how am I work all day if I'm dizzy?
Right.
Like,
Right.
how is that going to work? So you do have to, like you said, advocate for yourself.
Right.
Ask, are there alternatives and things of that nature? So that's such a great point.
People are too afraid to ask, but this is your body. You only have one shot at this. This is your body.
Yeah.
That's
you only have one shot at it. Never be afraid to take care of you or to do what's best for you.
That's so good.
And if
so
that
powerful.
doctor or that nurse is not willing to take the time to talk to you, then that's not your doctor and that's not your nurse.
Exactly.
Because you have to be willing to sit down and speak with people at the level that they're at. Now, not being condescending, you just have to learn to communicate at a level that the person understands.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, gosh, you bring up so many good points. This is such good conversation. And just from the feed alone, it's going crazy because people understand, Felice said, you have to do research on your medication, and she may not profess it. She says she is a patient advocate, but I'm going to tell you what, she is a nurse coach. And I go to Sabrina when I have questions. She sends me articles. She arms me. She recently armed me for a doctor's appointment. And guess what? He was horrible. And I'm too much of a lady to say his name on the World Wide Web. But I tell you what, he had the bedside manner of a toad. And he is now fired. And I just recently found out and validated that some of the results that I got from the blood work that he ordered were not what they needed to be. And he never told me about it. Never discussed it because guess what? I stood up for myself during my appointment. And he did not like that. So because of that, he put me in a special place where he didn't want to communicate with me. So he withheld information. You have to own everything about your life,
right?
Your health, your everything about it's not. You can't just pick and choose what you reclaim about you. And so, I thank you, Sabrina, for giving me that extra ounce of courage to fight for myself in that room. Because guess what? The nurse that was there after he left, she said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry you just went through that. I completely understand what I just experienced. And I am so sorry that you went through that. You have every right to stand up for yourself."
That's right.
I literally had to say that to him.
But in her saying that to you as the patient was great. But for the behavior not to be repeated, we have to hold each other accountable as colleagues. Not in front of the patient. I may have to go to him and say, "Dr. Blackwood, let's talk about this." And I've never been that person that's been afraid to say that. That wasn't good. That was not good. Whether it was a nurse, doctor, or whomever. And let me be clear. I am not an angel, have wings growing out of my back at all.
Right.
It has been times that there have been colleagues of mine that had to come to me and say, "Your tone, you could have did that a little bit different. That you could have done that a lot better."
That's right.
So I don't want to make it seem as if I'm Peter Pan or Transformer or Batman or whatever. Well, those are my favorites. Batman. But because that's not it. But in order for us to have effective change, we're going to have to, and that's we're going to have to advocate. And that's one of the things about nurses. We are the go-between, advocating for both sides. You may not be taking your medicine the way that you're supposed to. And when the doctor leaves the room, because I have a better rapport with you, I can say, "Miss Blackwood, now
Right.
What you been doing?"
Tell the truth.
Okay, with girl,
Yes.
you know, these pills are not like Christmas ornaments. They not for decoration once a year. You use these every day, okay?
Yes.
Like this
Right.
prescription says, you know,
Right.
you are not a Christmas tree.
I can't.
Right.
Listen,
So,
before you continue, Dylan Jacobs just
Thanks.
asked
Yes.
if you could name the brain disorder again because she's having some
Spell it.
issues.
Yes,
And
please.
she want, oh yeah, if you could spell it, and she's having some concerns.
okay. And it's Chiari, Chiari, malformation, Malformation.
So Chiari.
Chiari.
I'm gonna put it in the chat.
So, Sabrina, can we talk a little bit about once you got the diagnosis, maybe some thoughts that were, going through your mind, and how did you begin to, as you would say, like kind of pull your bootstraps up and get a hold to the diagnosis, but not allow the diagnosis to have a hold on you?
Very good. Yes.
For a little while, it was rough. It was.
Yeah.
It was rough. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to think.
Did
I
you
didn't
think
want
you
to
were
be a
going to die
burden.
at some point?
Did I think I was going to die?
Or
Oh no, I never thought that.
That's so awesome.
I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell people I don't think I'm going anywhere just yet. No,
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm not finished doing what I have to do. And
Yeah.
any day that you're having a good day, just understand and know the devil got his eyes on me because
That's
he
so
knows
good.
either watch the whole world or watch
Mm-hmm.
me because he know I'm gonna do just as much damage as
Yeah.
the rest of the world all by myself.
That's so good.
I
To have
love
that
it.
mindset, though.
Yes,
You know
that is
what
a
I'm
mindset.
saying? It's
He
a
already know
mindset.
you either gonna watch 60 billion people and
Do not disturb or kill that, Sabrina.
do not disturb.
Yes, ma'am. All righty. But one thing, Benicia, that I was thinking about when I heard Sabrina talk about the numbers, 1 in 1,000, and the condition that I have with my pituitary is the same numbers. And a lot of people go undiagnosed until they checked me for the flu, they checked me for Lyme disease, they checked all kinds of stuff until the CAT scan was kind of inconclusive. It wasn't until the MRI was done with and without contrast that they saw the tumor. But the symptoms were migraines and flu-like symptoms. And it's just so much that can throw you off course when you don't get these tests, and you have to advocate for yourself to sometimes get those tests done.
Absolutely.
I think, for me, I was blessed in that they kind of went right there because I don't know if I had the right insurance. I don't know what it was, but I bless God for it that they continue to investigate. I can't even remember how many vials of blood I gave before they got there. But you really have to push.
You do.
You do.
I tell people never if you're going to get your car checked, there's a mechanic in your family. So of course you're going to call the mechanic and say, "Hey, listen, my car is making such and such sound." Learn to speak the language of where you are or whatever situation you're in. So when you go to the doctors, be
That's so
armed with
good.
that language so that they'll know that either A, you already have that knowledge, or B, you have someone that loves you enough to arm you with the information that you need.
Yes.
That's going to
Sabrina,
get you the care.
I think this is so important again, right? You're bringing up your tribe, your family, your friends. And as we're speaking, I just hear the Lord saying, that's why it's so important that we got to have community.
Yes.
because there's someone in your community. You know, I'm thinking now that I recently went through some medical things. So you know what? I'm going to call you this week because I
Okay.
need someone, right, that's in my community that understands this
Right.
language, these results better than I do. But if I
Yeah.
Right.
didn't have a community, then I wouldn't be able to go and you know, really talk about this. Someone that you can trust. I don't know the doctor. I don't know the nurse. And somebody told me this, and it was so good. We were talking about school and wanting to excel and, you know, learning to just be okay with if you gotta be, or I just used to push myself so much. And she said, Benicia, you know what? There's a doctor that graduated at the bottom of his class, just get by, and he has MD behind his name. So what I'm saying is, what I'm learning from what you're saying is that we do thank God for medical professionals. We do. God gives them the wisdom, but at the end of the day, you better know the doctors of the doctors, which is God,
Absolutely.
who will give you more insight, who will lead and
Come
guide you
on.
to
Yes.
the right
Absolutely.
physicians or practitioners, or even like you said, speak to you yourself to say,
Right.
no, you need an MRI. And then you have to go and advocate to the doctor. Can you talk to us about the importance of your faith in God in conjunction with doing the things that you had to do practically that the medical professionals told you?
Yeah.
Well, that is the very foundation of who I am and everything that I do. I tell people now, don't look at the way I act. Don't do that, because that's not what I was taught. I just don't do that. My great grandparents um, came from North Carolina, right where you guys are. And when we did our family tree, my great grandmother, Ruth Horton Brooks, is the great granddaughter of the founding pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in
Oh, I know
Florida.
Ebenezer. I have friends
Uh-huh.
that go to
So
Ebenezer.
the founding pastor is Zach Horton. So that's my great grandmother's great grandfather.
Mm.
And for as long as I can remember as a little girl, um, you could do what you want to do, but you was going to church. You were going to, my great
Multiple
grandparents
times
didn't
a
care,
week.
and
Okay.
they passed it down to, my aunts, and it that is the very foundation. That is the very foundation of who I am, and that was the first thing that I did when I got in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Mm.
Was had a conversation. I said, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, "Okay, God, you said in a time of trouble you will hide me in your secret tabernacle. I
Mm.
don't know what's going on with me, but what I do know is I need you, and I need you to hide me
Mm.
Oof.
My
until
God.
I'm okay."
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, um, I just let it be, and be that as it may, it was rough. But again, going back to your tribe, I live now in Portsmouth, Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, my boyfriend's mother, her name is Alva Ruth Cross. She was considered the Maddie Moss Clark of her era in this area. And you're talking about somebody that could sing.
Mm-hmm.
My God. They were the first black choir, the C&J singers was the first black choir on Jim and Tammy Faye Baker show when it was in this area.
I
And
remember
I said
that.
that to say,
PTL.
right, I
Mm-hmm.
said that to say this. Yes, I was brought up in church, but at the time I could not pray for me.
Mm.
But I still had somebody covering me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because
Mm-hmm.
of his strong foundation that came from his mother,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I was going to be okay. And again, I have pastors and ministers in my family. My uncle is my uncle Dominic Montgomery. He is an associate pastor at his church in North Carolina. I have a cousin, Elisha James Waters. She is the executive pastor at Bethany Baptist in Baltimore, along with her dad, Thurm James Sr. and her brother Thurm James Jr. he preaches as well. So I'm surrounded by that. My son's godmothers are ministers, and that's the fiber of my being. So that's just who I am. Now, I didn't say that's how I act. I just said, because I'm the one that's sitting in the back. Yeah.
Sabrina, can I ask you? So I love that you're surrounded, and you talked about the tribe, which is something that Benicia and we talk about, I think, almost every week how important
every week.
Yeah. What I would love to ask you about with all the lineage and legacy that you have surrounding you, and then actually being part of your tribe, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
I'm going to be nosy and ask Sabrina, what do you say to him on the rough days? Because I know those other people got you, and I personally prayed for you. So I know as your tribe, we've got you. But what does Sabrina say to him those days? Like just recently, to not to tell your business, but I'm gonna say something anyway. You had a couple of really rough days recently. Physically, you had some rough days. What was your conversation with him during that time?
You know what? A lot of times during my rough times, it's not even a conversation. Because I really feel like it's not for me to have anything to say. It's more for me to listen. Because he already knows the situation. He already knows. He can see where I am, what I'm going through, and why I'm there. He already knows because he orchestrated it. So that's the time for me to listen and not have anything to say.
Wow.
And I think that ties into what you were saying earlier, how everybody's journey is so different.
Yeah.
And how you have to have a personal relationship with God, because he deals with you based on your personality. So there may be someone watching that says, I cry out to God. And that's exactly what you should do. It's someone like Sabrina that says, you know what, in that season for me, being quiet and still, I love that scripture that says, be still and know that I am God. And so I love who God is, because he meets each one of us individually where we are based on our personality, our uniqueness, because that's where, that's how he created us, and so I love that. And listening is so essential, right? Listening can save your life. Listening allowed you to be able to hear, I need an MRI, when the doctors weren't even providing that, right, as a solution. And so I'm so appreciative of your relationship with him. But we're talking about listening and speaking and all of this. Can we talk a little bit before we wrap up about how you hear and listen for these words that God gives you to put this poetry together? Talk a little bit about that. I know you've been writing poetry since you were 9. Is that correct? Somewhere around there? Okay. So tell us a little bit about that, and how has that been therapeutic for you? I know it's therapeutic for me and Tanya and whoever else listens, but tell us a little bit about that.
I'm more of a visual and auditory writer. I write based on what I hear or what I see. And even when I write for others, if I don't hear it, I don't write it. And I thought that was a gift that God was just giving me for myself to have. I didn't think that it was something that was supposed to be shared, because it was just a feel-good thing for me. So I would write, but I never said anything. And one of my cousins, who's my best friend, she's an executive in radio, and sometimes she would have speeches to do. And I would tell her, look, that's boring. Look, put this word there, put that word there. Say this, say that.
Yeah.
And she say, wow, cousin, like, how do you do that? And it just, the way that it sounds to me. And I just listen for what makes sense. And I tell people, poetry is your heart song. Whatever's in your heart, it's going to come out, because what we say out of the abundance of our heart, right? So it's your heart song. So poetry doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It just has to be, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it is what it is. And I just take what other people say and I write it. I just write it a little differently.
That's so good. So
Yeah.
now you have a platform where you thought it was just going to be for you, but now you have platforms where you are sharing it with the world. How amazing is that? That is so amazing.
It's
Yes.
definitely a God thing because that was not something that I had anticipated. I am the voice of the spiritual appetizer on WBOB radio Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. I also am one of the co-authors of the book, Her Story, Our Story, Different Faces, Same Trauma. My chapter is I will lay down, but I will never bow down. And what I mean by that is when it's time for me to lay and be downloaded into by God, I will do that, but I will never bow down to anything. And what I need people to know and understand is who you see me as and the person that you see today. It took some time to get here, but I feel like if I don't do the things that I do, or I'm not as lively as I am, then the God that I say I serve is a lie. And I know he can't do that. Now, I don't know
That's
about
good.
anybody else, and I can't bash anybody else, but
That's
I
right.
know I have to look like who I say I serve and what I say he can do.
Listen, I need that to be a t-shirt. Let me give you a couple of snaps on
How
that.
about
You
that?
said what? You gonna
Right.
lay down, but you ain't gonna bow down.
I
My
know
I'm,
that's
God.
I'm,
right.
I'm gonna go ahead and
Listen,
rock what I got.
Yes.
I might have to preach that, honey.
Right.
That's a whole sermon right
It
there.
is.
I'm gonna go ahead and rock what I got.
Yes, that is. I'm
I love
excited
it.
too because the authors will be on the show next week
Right.
talking about that project, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Amazing.
Yes.
So good.
Sabrina, I want to ask you because what you did let folks know WBOB so they can find you there and they can, join that group on Facebook and stay in the know. But where should they go find you? And before you give all your handles, I want you to talk to, because my spirit's telling me there are women out there and maybe even some men, because they have
Yeah.
Ralph and Paula have chimed in and given links for people to go look for stuff. They're such a blessing. Talk to the people that may have gotten a bad report, no matter how they got it. Let them know, what should they do? What would you have to say to them once you get the report? What's next?
Okay. So what I tell people is I like to help people work past their no. Because we all have a journey. And after you get that diagnosis, now what? So I'll say, well, how you going to act? So what I did was I activated my faith.
Come
I
on.
acknowledged what I had.
You hear
I
that,
created
Judy?
a life plan
Yes.
and I transitioned into that. So just because you have whatever a diagnosis is words on a piece of paper. What you decide to do with that diagnosis is up to you.
That's
What
right.
you allow that disease disorder to do is up to you. We're only powerless when we surrender our power to something.
That's so good.
So do it anyway. It may not look like
Jesus.
somebody else's. Okay, but it wasn't meant to look like somebody
That's
else's
right.
because you have a certain group of people to reach.
That's
And
Yes.
right.
they won't accept it any other way. So look like you, be authentic. I'm running around here with red hair. It could be purple next week or and orange the next. But rock what you got.
Rock what you got. I
I
like that. I
love
need that to be a t-shirt too.
Oh,
I'm just
listen, don't worry, it is. Don't even try.
okay.
Listen, I tell people what I say. I may have short-term memory loss, but I know how to copyright some stuff.
Listen, I'm putting my order in now. Okay. I need
Yes.
both of those.
I know
Yes.
I know how to copyright real good.
Yes. Yes. Rock what you got. Well, this
Well,
has been amazing. Go ahead, Tom.
no, I was just gonna say right where you were going. Make sure that people can find you.
Yeah.
Give them your handle, your everything. Paula says, my shirt I have on says rock your life. So she
That's
right
it.
there with you. She
Come
rock
on, you
what
only
you
get
got,
one.
That's right.
You only got one.
Rock what you got.
Mm-hmm.
I am on also. Let me just say this. Social media really was not my thing. My sons think it's the funniest thing in the world that I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I don't know how to work all of them. No, I don't. But I can return a message. So I'm Sabrina Allison on all of them. If I don't get back to you, I'm not ignoring you. I just probably forgot where I was supposed to be at that time. But I'm coming right back. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get over there.
Right. Try again.
Right. Because I might forget. I said short-term memory loss, so I might have forgotten who I was. That I could have been Tanya Blackwood in my mind. Okay.
See what
The
we mean,
comedian
y'all?
right there.
The comedian right there in the house live. Yes.
The
And
jury
Paula
is
says
still
she's
out on
about to
that,
follow
but
you for sure.
the jury is still out on that. However, one of my most favorite people in the whole world, I call her Pastor Knockout, and that's Pastor Placida Braswell.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
Love her.
She'll inbox me and tell me if I was funny or not, y'all.
Yes.
Love her to life. And I just feel
Yes.
led, if you haven't shared this particular podcast, we would just ask if you could hit that like, that share button, because guess what? There may be someone who has not been diagnosed correctly that
Right.
needs to hear these symptoms, this story. So when we're asking you to share or like, it's not because, we get caught up in the accolades of having a podcast. What we're caught up in is being the hands and the feet of Jesus and really trying to help whoever we can, however we can. So these stories can reach, I've been in that predicament. Tanya's been in that predicament. Sabrina has been in that predicament where we all had chronic illnesses that weren't necessarily diagnosed correctly from a doctor. I got a lot of information from someone in someone else's tribe that helped me with my situation. You know what I mean? And so we all need each other. And I just want to say, thank you so much for joining and tuning in. We never take for granted. You could have found yourself anywhere on beautiful, well, I hope it's beautiful where you are. It's beautiful, certainly, where we are today, weather-wise, on a Saturday afternoon. So we hope that this blessed you as much as it blessed us. Tanya and I always walk away saying, wow, I took something from that. And so we want to say thank you so much. Thank you, Sabrina, for your story, for your courage, and for your friendship and your sisterhood and all the many laughs that we
have a lot of
have had. Laughter. Can I say this to the people? Listen, laughter is good for the soul. It's like medicine.
Great medicine, Paula says. Yes,
exactly. And although we are in trying times and there are going to be more things that we're going to have to triumph over, we do only get one life and we have to choose. Sabrina said that so beautifully about being intentional. You have to laugh intentionally. You have to find something to be grateful for intentionally. A positive mind brings positive things. We have to renew our mind. And so we pray that this podcast is one of those things that brings positivity, laughter, sometimes tears of joy, triumph, hopefully, that we all get to experience every week.
And can I say one last thing, Benicia?
Absolutely.
From the bottom of my heart, I know I said it at the beginning of the broadcast, but I would like to truly, truly thank you and Tanya for just thinking of me to invite me on your show. I would like to say to the people, that's watching the broadcast, this wasn't anything that I ever saw for myself. That I ever wanted to do. I am a little girl from Baltimore City, Zone 15, one of the roughest areas in Baltimore. Never stop believing that what God has for you, He will give you. I didn't see this for myself. I really did not. All of these things are coming because I wouldn't do what God told me to do. And then he said, well, I'm going to show you what I have for you because you won't do it. So he made me walk in what he had in who I am. You can do it. The most crowded place is at the base of a mountain. You got 3 things you can do. Either you can, well, 4. Either you can stand there, you can move it, climb it, or bust through it. You get to decide and you get to write your own ticket. Just because it doesn't look like somebody else, it doesn't matter. You're you.
So good.
You're diagnosed with depression, but you don't have to walk around humdrum. You're diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Your knees don't work today. Work your hands. You're diagnosed with migraine headaches. Okay, when you're laying down, imagine where you want to be so that when you get up,
my God, so good.
It'll be in place. Because every day I get up, I make God so proud. But when my feet hit the floor, I shake hell real loud. Run hard, dream big, and create a legacy, y'all. I love you guys to pieces.
Thank you. We love you
so
too.
Good.
So good.
So good. Your diagnosis does not define you.
Amen.
So good, Sabrina. Thank you for
your
yes.
God for me. I know she was like, really? You sent me over there with her? Girl, yeah, he sure did. Come on.
I'm going to control you. You're not going to control me.
That's right.
So is.
That's
they told me
right.
to give away all of my heels. I said I'm 5'2" flat foot. Give away what? I could be spinning like a top. I'm gonna wear these. And I'm
talking about every color, every height, honey.
Girl,
okay.
What?
Y'all are a trip. You know, Sabrina, you are the walking poster child for my favorite quote, which is by Edwin Lewis Cole. You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying there.
That's right.
That's so good.
And,
love it.
You know, it's not to say, you know, we're not going to get wet because we are going to get wet. Right? You're going to get wet, but you've got to make a decision to rise up and not allow the things, the people, the places, the diagnoses, any of that to define you. If not, you will sit in that water and the water will rise and you out. And I know you don't want that for yourself.
That's right.
So I thank you for being an example.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much. You guys, thank you for always showing up. Thank you for sharing this.
Yes.
We appreciate you so much. Please go to ariseandshine.live and hit that subscribe button and the notification button so you know we'll be doing some more things on our YouTube page. We want to grow that family. So please help us with that if you can. And we are
I forgot, Tanya, my
Facebook
group, The Unboxables. I also have a Facebook group called The Unboxables because
The Unboxable. Let me put that in there.
The Unboxables. I will not be boxed into anything. And also, I do have a podcast coming called Kitchen Conversations with Cousin because I'm everybody's favorite cousin. And where's the most love and the most advice given?
In the kitchen. That's so true. Where the food
sounds great.
Yes.
Right. So we're going to feed your heart, your mind, and your soul.
So good.
Podcast coming soon. Can they find out about the podcast and the Unboxable Facebook group?
Yes, the Unboxable Facebook group. All you have to do is send a request to join. And the Facebook group, I made it so that it's a positive. Listen, y'all, listen. Okay. We're not one of them coffin dragon groups. I'm just going to tell you what I mean by coffin dragon. If you're looking for nobody knows the trouble I've seen, we're not the group for you. Okay.
Right.
It is a positive, uplifting group for those with chronic disorders and chronic illnesses that have silent pain. That's those people that suffer in silence, but don't look like what they're going through. Now, we don't hold no funerals on this page, y'all. Okay? We got a lot of positive information. It's going to be people that look just like you, have what you have, But the only difference is they made a decision to rock what they got. And we
To
put it
rock
all
what
out
they
there.
got.
It's a lot of resources. Join the group. And the podcast will be on WBOB Radio, as well as I have some other things coming up. I just got an invitation to be in Courageous Woman magazine while we were on this broadcast.
Awesome.
Well, Ronald just helped me out with the proper spelling of unboxable. Thank you, Ronald.
Thank
See
you,
that
honey.
they are all up in the
He
feed. They are
almost got
just,
my back.
I know it. I
Thank you.
love
You're
it. I
welcome.
love it.
I love
So
it.
y'all, we family when we find it difficult to say goodbye, but we are so
Yeah.
blessed to have you. We are truly leaving you now. I wish you
Yes,
the best, most amazing weekend.
that's right.
And Benicia, send them off with grace, sweetie.
Listen, rock what you got. That's it.
Rock
Be
what you got.
you, what God has called you to be, authentic, and live, live,
Mhm.
live, live out loud. And we'll see you the same time, same place next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye,